An all-new episode of The Mitch, Lafon, and Jeremy White Show.
Tuesday at noon.
Available wherever you stream.
Brand new record set for release on April 29th. It's called Fierce Bliss. You can pre-order it now wherever you get your music. Also, the brand new single and music video for Greed out now. And I got to compliment you on the album art for this record because it's really damn cool. We're going to talk all about that. Welcome to the show, of course, the one, the only, Ann Wilson. Hello.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
This is really exciting. Mitch is very excited. He's shaking.
Well, I will because here I'll just start with this because I'm the older one here. One of your songs, or one of the songs that you sang on back in the day, "Surrender to Me" with Robin Zander, written by Richard Marx, just absolutely one of the greatest vocals you'll ever hear. The combination of Robin Zander and Ann Wilson, it's like the epitome of the best female singer with the epitome of the best male singer combined. I mean, come on. What were you doing to
Robin? Yeah.
Well, yeah. And you as well. Just any quick memories of that, and then we'll get straight to the new album.
Oh, just that Robin and I were friends for a long time, and I couldn't imagine singing with anybody cooler than that. You know, I mean, he's just great, and one of the best singers, I think, who sings rock.
Still,
he can sing all kinds of things. He can sing operetta. You know, I mean, he's amazing.
He is. Jeremy, get to the new album.
Well, look, I want to talk about this brand new record because obviously in 2022, not many people are making good rock and roll music, and Ann Wilson just comes out with this record, and it's just like, well, okay, we got some good rock and roll in 2022, especially with the new single. You're touching on all kinds of, it's almost like social commentary and the lyric-wise. Talk about the single a little bit, and we'll dive a little bit more into the record too.
Yeah, the single "Greed," I think is a strong social commentary because it's not only personal to us each, but it's running rampant in our culture. Mm-hmm. And especially at the moment, the war that's going on and just wanting more and more and more.
The insane gas prices
on others. Yeah, it's a very greedy thing. And it's one of the 7 deadly sins for a reason.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, writing this new stuff, I mean, how would you compare it compared to, you know, the old school recordings? I mean, is it still the same creative process for you trying to get into the studio and come up with some cool stuff?
Yeah, well, each song is different, of course, but it's pretty much just the way I like to do things. You know, I like to start with the words and then make a song with a musician and then go in and work it out. It's the songs don't necessarily arrive in the studio fully finished. Mm-hmm. They get finished in the studio, and I welcome other people's ideas for parts and everything, you know.
Has the writing process changed over the years?
Yeah, I think I'm doing much more writing by myself now. Mm-hmm. I've always written with songwriting partners, and I still do so. But some of these songs are just me writing solo now, which is new.
Mm-hmm. How does that affect your writing? I mean, going in and having a collaborator, of course, it's really nice to have other people's ideas to contribute. But when it's just you, I mean, do you get self-conscious like, oh, is this good enough? Or?
Oh, of course. Yeah. You know, everybody feels that their ideas are going to be judged. So at the outset of a songwriting session with someone else, you generally say, okay, we're going to leave our critics at the door. You know, nobody's going to judge anybody else. We're not going to make anybody else feel stupid if they brainstorm, you know.
Yeah. Has that ever happened in a writing process? Like somebody's like, oh, man, that just sucks.
That is so stupid. Not really, but you think that they're going to, you know.
Yeah.
I think we're all like school children deep inside who are in class and who are scared to raise our hand, you know.
Totally. Yeah, it's interesting to talk to songwriters about that because, you know, they'll say, listen, every song that I write, it's almost like a child of mine, and I don't want one of my children judged, but then equally, It's the same thing for the collaborator, too. I mean, and if you can't find that groove.
Yeah.
Could get awkward.
There's all kinds of things that can be obstructions about the songwriting process.
Yeah.
We're up in Montreal, so I just want to quickly ask you about the Canadian perspective with you and with Heart. You've worked with Jim Vallance and others. You moved up to Vancouver back in the early days, and I see it all the time in the media and from fans going, Heart was a great Canadian band. And you're like, well, they're actually not from Canada. Just quickly talk to me about moving up to Vancouver and what Canada has meant to you and to the band, but also but mostly just to you personally and what we've brought to you.
Right. Well, if it weren't for Canada and the support that we got in Canada, the open mind we got from Canada, Heart would not be where it is. And you've got to remember that I'm from Seattle, which is only like, an hour and a half drive from Vancouver.
It's right up the block.
It's kind of regional, it's more like the border is a dotted line, and we moved freely across that line all the time. But I did live in Canada for nearly 8 years as a landed immigrant, and it's what a beautiful place to be. Just the people are great. There's so much creativity going up on there on a high level. So many iconic artists are from Canada, like Joni Mitchell and Neil Young, and you start naming them, and it's just, there's so many that had to come down to the States to get their international notoriety, but
right,
they're all from Vancouver, Toronto, Winnipeg.
Yeah,
it's a marvelous place to live and be from.
It really is. Let me just quickly take up on that for 1 second. You talk about on the new album you used to work with a lot of different songwriters. In terms of working with Jim Vallance and Holly Knight and Bernie Taupin, talk to me about working with them and not having just been you and Nancy back in the day writing the songs, and why was there a need to bring in songwriters? Were you just looking for different perspective? Was it the record company saying, hey, you need to write a single and we need to bring in some heavyweights? Where did this sort of collaboration of writing come from?
There was a certain amount of the record label's influence there, because it was the 80s suddenly, and things were changing fast. And we wanted to, we had just signed with Capitol Records, and they really believed in us, but they really believed that we should update our songs. So that's why we agreed to listen to a big pile of demos. We got this big bunch of demos from all different kinds of people, and a few of them were really great, like These Dreams and What About Love and Alone, and Lisa Del Bello submitted Wait for an Answer and Black on Black, and
Lisa's great, by the
songs.
way. I actually spoke to Lisa about a week ago. She's great. She of course did that song for Queensryche, Gonna Get Close to You. So she's
that's great. I'm glad she's still going. I haven't heard from her in a while. She's
still going and very active on the Twitter, so you can send her a message and keep talking to her. She's great.
Yeah.
Love Lisa.
Oh, I love that person. She is so cool. We hung out a lot, and both like in the professional sphere and just hanging out, so.
Yeah.
And what was it though? Was the record label like, okay, you need to get away from the organic or sort of 70s rock of, Barracuda, and you need to get a little bit more cannonball snare, be a little bit more poppy? It was the record label kind of pushing you that way?
Exactly, yeah. And it was more like, Nancy, my sister, was being told, acoustic guitars are just out, and they're just so unhip, and that's her main instrument, right? So it was uncomfortable at times, because we believe in what we do and we're true to ourselves and all that. So some of that was sort of Faustian to us, because we tried what they were suggesting, and we had number one hits,
Right.
So it makes you sigh and go, oh God, well, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And as a guitar player, I mean, for your sister, I mean, like, I'm sure it was like, you know, you need to get away from the Les Paul and the big Marshall. You need to go Strat and a Rockman. You need that Mutt Lange guitar sound. We need to update you a little bit.
A whole bunch of keyboards and a whole bunch of effects and gloss and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
So-
you know, that album came out in 85, which was the year I graduated high school. You could not escape Heart on the radio, on Much Music. It was just everywhere, and it was slick, and the videos were gorgeous.
Mhm.
So, you know,
I guess it worked out in the end.
It did.
Yeah, it worked.
A little bit. Go ahead.
I was going to say, and talking about Mutt Lange really quickly, one of my favorite songs from you guys is, of course, the Mutt Lange song that you apparently hate till the freaking cows come home because of the lyrical content. Now, is that true? I mean, tell the story a little bit about that song and how Mutt came in to, you know, pitch you guys that song and All I Want to Do Is Make Love to You. I mean, it's a song that you guys have never performed live. You've sort of expressed your disdain for it in the past, but I'm kind of curious, like, what is the story about how that song came about and getting Mutt to write a song for you and everything? Because I'm a huge Mutt Lange fan, and I love hearing Mutt Lange stories.
Right. And I have no quarrel with Mutt Lange either. I think he's a really talented guy when it comes to writing pop songs and hits and stuff. I mean, he knows the formula, and he's good at it. The problem that I had, well, and to be honest, we did do that song for years. I mean, we played that song in our set forever.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. And finally, I just got done with it because it's just, you have to understand that song was initially written for a man to sing. And we flipped the gender around so that I could sing it convincingly. And as a woman who struggles against the objectification of women in society, I found that song with the gender flipped totally objectified men. And I just didn't like the feeling of being an objectifier. It was like really cold and hard. And to me, it wasn't sexy and it wasn't funny. It was just gross. But that's nothing against Mutt. He didn't write the song for a woman. So
Right.
So out of all the songs you could have potentially gotten from Mutt, why'd you guys pick that one?
because it has a great sing-along chorus.
Right.
Which is what you're looking for in a song.
On the radio,
talk to me
yeah.
quickly back with the solo album. You have a tour coming up. Is this going to be just sort of a limited run and then you make another album or you just get off the road? Or do you hope to have sort of a 2-year album cycle on this one?
Well, we'll have to see if people like the record.
Right.
Because I'm not going to ram it down their throats on stage if they hate it. But no, we intend to go ahead and tour with it in the States, come up to Canada, go to Europe, go to Japan with it. And that will take a year. But I'm already writing for another album. So, yeah, you know, this is what I do. And I just plan to keep on doing it.
Right.
As best I can.
Is right. So are you more comfortable now being a solo artist, or do you sort of think to yourself, you know what, I got to get back to the brand. I got to get back to Heart. Or is this where you want to go for the rest of the career? I just want to be Ann Wilson, solo artist.
Well, you know, I don't think of it that way. I just think of the music. I think of the songs. And if the songs that I'm writing now would work best in Heart with Nancy playing, then that's where they'll go.
Right.
To me, it's like a family affair. And if she wants to go out and do her thing with her songs, that's great. And I can do it. And then we come back together and we share what we've brought. And yeah, next year is the 50th anniversary of Heart, really, getting together in Vancouver. So we have a lot of stuff planned for that year for Heart.
Right.
How difficult was it for Heart, because now we're talking 50 years, how difficult was it for you to get going back in the day? Because it was a very male-dominated field. Were you shut down all the time going, it's just two girls, come on? Or, you know?
Yeah, well, yeah, it was a lot like that. it's hard to realize in today's world how novel it was to be a woman in a rock band back in 1973, or 74 or something. And that was before Nancy joined the band. So I was just like the sole woman in heart.
Right.
And I was treated politely for the most part, but still considered a novelty. And at the beginning, I only sang the ballads, the soft, pretty stuff, and then
the cute
guys
stuff
would sing the rockers. But then we started to do Zeppelin songs and Deep Purple songs and stuff like that, and none of the men could sing up in that register. So it fell to me, and that's how we kind of broke through that barrier. How I broke through the barrier of being a woman singer to being a rock singer,
What was the pressures on you in terms of sexuality? Because I've been going through a whole bunch of Billboard magazines recently from the 70s and 80s, and every single female is either in short shorts or in lace or in bras and the men are just, manly and stuff.
Dressed like dudes.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, and I'm looking at it from my 2022 perspective going, this is ridiculous.
Yeah.
It was completely ridiculous.
It's ridiculous.
Like every single female is in her bra, and I'm like, well, what the hell is this? What was Billboard? I mean, it wasn't Billboard, obviously, but has that changed? And do you feel that you and Hart were part of that change, where you just said, enough already? We're singers. We're not objects.
Yeah. Well, that's always been the fight, right? That's always been the struggle.
Right.
And just to gain credibility, to get credibility as women, you have to deserve it. You have to ask for it and be it, You have to be credible. And I really get what you're saying about the little short shorts and the
every ad is some girl stuck in short shorts, and here's my new album, and you're like,
right.
What does this have to do with the album? Right. In fact, I want to ask you something that might be touchy, and it's meant with utmost respect, but you struggled with your weight and you were fat shamed, which I thought was disgusting. You should not have been. But how hard was that on you? Because Jeremy also had the gastric.
I went for the sleeve. I went for the lap band. I almost died, and the only reason I got it was because I was fat and I looked terrible in my radio photos, and everybody would always make fun
and
of me.
you were sort of fat shamed as well. And how far have we come in the industry from those days? Because I remember the videos where they tried to change the angles and they would crop stuff to me. Why couldn't you just say, here's Anne, she's a beautiful woman, and you still are, and that's it. And how much have you helped in fighting that?
Well, that's a really good question. I think that on the surface, fat shaming is been called out, and
yes, it has been.
Totally
took a while. Yeah,
it took a while, but I don't believe that the problem is solved by a long stretch.
Okay.
I think that it's one way on TikTok and Instagram and stuff about that, but then you get into the celebrity world and they're still fat shaming people in horrible ways. Mm-hmm. So it's come along, but it's not all the way there yet.
Right.
But I think it's good that it's been called out into the open, and it's just like, hey, come on,
But that took an incredible toll on your mental being.
Yeah. It was really hurtful and hard, and it's just I can't describe how much it undermined my confidence for a while.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so then, when the touring of the 80s was done, when the 90s happened, it was a good time to go home and regroup and do some therapy and
let me ask you about the therapy. Can you talk about it now, or am I making you feel uncomfortable and bringing back horrible memories, or have you sort of said, no, I'm at peace with this now?
Yeah, I'm at peace with it now.
Okay. Yeah, because I of course mean no disrespect. So.
Oh, no. It's okay to talk about, really.
Okay, good.
Yeah. It's not like an elephant in the room,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But But I see these articles about other young women who are going through that now, and I just feel for them so much.
Yeah.
Because
Well, I mean,
I
our
was just gonna
co-host
say-
here, Jeremy, was 400 pounds, and the radio station looked at his pictures and said, "This can't happen." Or, they didn't say it like that, but
Well,
it
they
was
didn't
sort of
say
like,
it directly like that. It's
no,
more
but they
like,
said, "Man, we need better pictures," basically.
but it wasn't only that. It was really kind of like the social pressure. I mean, I was 17 getting into radio, and you see everybody that I was working with, and it was just when Instagram was starting to take off and all these things, and you sort of had to have this image. But then it's like not only that, it's the fact that I felt the pressure to have to go for the lap band surgery, and I almost died from having the lap band. I had to get it removed, and then I went for a gastric sleeve, and that completely changed and saved my life. But then I look at other girls that are, just from my village alone, and they're constantly bombarded with, "Hey, come to CrossFit, oh this and do that," and like it's still in society where you're still kind of pressured to, be the best you that you can be, and it's like, well, what if I already am the best me that I feel like I am?
Yeah. Well, you hit the nail on the head, because it's somebody else's vision of what you should be. It's not yours.
Yeah.
I think that it's growing more equal, though, because there are enough people now that are standing up and saying, I don't care what you think. I feel good. I'm good.
Yeah.
That the pressure to alter yourself for somebody else's idea is becoming way, way less popular and less powerful.
Yeah. Or to mold yourself for somebody else's pleasure. I mean, it's like, why can't it just be me and accept me?
Or to fit into this small little box of what's acceptable for you to look like. I always think of that old movie with Marilyn Monroe. I think it's called Gentlemen Prefer Blondes, where she's on a ship and she's trying to climb out a porthole, and she gets stuck because her hips are too big. She gets stuck in the middle of the porthole and she can't get in. She can't get out. That's how I used to feel.
Right.
I used to feel like, God, like I'm trying to just do music, but these people won't let me just flow freely. They have to just come at me and stop me from my progress because of my body,
Yeah.
And
which is ridiculous.
It wasn't
you hear your instrument and you just go, what else do you need? Listen to that voice.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, and it's just the criteria for female, well, and male too, for beauty has changed so much now. I'm so glad.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at the big fashion magazines, which are the worst, because the high fashion industry, the couture industry, is so elitist and just so,
Well, I always go back to that movie Mean Girls.
even
where,
they're starting to show realistic looking women now.
Yeah. I was gonna say I always go back to that movie Mean Girls, where Regina George is trying to get a dress, and like she gained like a little bit of weight, and the girl working at the store is like, "Yeah, we don't have your size. Maybe you should try Sears."
Yeah.
Anyway.
Or try Big and Tall. Yeah.
Big and tall.
Yeah.
Anyway, all I can say is you're back. You've got a great new solo album. The first single, Greed, which is on YouTube, just sounds smashing. It's brilliant.
Thank you.
Yeah. And Fierce Bliss set for release on April 29th. You can pre-order now wherever you get your music. You got fantastic art on this. I was going to ask you, are you doing like the double LP gatefold vinyl, the full package, or is it going to be CD? Are we going physical or just digital?
I believe it's a gatefold. Yeah, we are going to vinyl, and we're doing all the formats. And the album cover, the vinyl album cover by Roger Dean,
All right.
I do believe that it opens up into a gatefold, and there's a bunch of stuff inside that you can check out while you're listening,
Yeah.
because that's the cool thing.
It's awesome because for the longest time, I mean, everything was, iTunes store, this digital, but now, like, especially through the pandemic, people are back into the opening up the vinyl, putting on the record, listening, reading the liner notes, looking at the whole package. It's the experience again.
Yeah. And I think that maybe because we were all in lockdown for a while, we were at home in quarantine, and we had time to think. We kind of stopped a little bit.
Yeah.
So yeah, I hope that people really enjoy that album art, because it was really a thrill to work with Roger Dean, and
great artist.
I've always loved his stuff.
Yeah, it looks great. I love the bird and the water. It's just it's very it's just
That's
nice.
his style. That's his style. He's great at what he does.
Nice.
There we go. Always a pleasure, and well, thank you.
Well, thank you. Yeah.
I was going to say
Merci
a bunch of tour days kicking off in May. Catch in San Francisco, Napa, California, LA for a couple of dates, Nashville, Tampa. I guess at some point you'll announce a bunch more tour dates as well. You said you want to get on the road and do this record and see how people react to it. So
Yes.
Can we expect some Canadian dates at some point? Maybe come back up to Montreal.
Yes, we're actually going to be up there in May.
Excellent. Well, we'll take you to supper.
Yeah,
our treat.
Right. Okay, great. Well, thank you.
We're in. We're on. That'll be awesome. Fierce Bliss, go and pre-order it now. Make sure you get it, and the vinyl and all that stuff. It's going to be great. And of course, check out you got some incredible musicians. I mean, we didn't even get to talk about Kenny Wayne Shepherd. I mean, you got Vince Gill on this record too. I mean, just so many incredible musicians on here. So
Tom Bukovac.
Yeah, absolutely.
Warren Haynes. Yeah.
Warren Haynes, man. I mean, talk about a musician. Just a producer too. I mean, yeah. You produced the track with him, right? The Angels Blues Gladiator too.
Yeah, we wrote that too. He Warren wanted to do a song that was like a big epic, that with all these parts that went on and on and on, kind of like the Zeppelin Rain song or something like that.
Yeah.
And so he sent me his version of that, which became Gladiator, and it was great.
So a collaboration like that, I mean, like, back in the day, you'd go in the studio and the band would be on the floor and everything. But now is it sort of like just you get a session in the Pro Tools? You're like, oh, I'll add my vocal here. Like, what's the difference in the recording process?
Well, I've never really had much success with sending files around to various musicians and having everybody add their part.
Yeah.
I've never had much luck with that, because what you get is just this mountain of stuff, and you have to plow through it and figure out what works and what doesn't. And what you don't have is the spark that's there when you're all in the same room, So Fierce Bliss was recorded all in the same room. Even during the pandemic, we were all masked and all that kind of stuff, but we were together looking at each other's eyes. So it reflects that. I think there's a real fire in the belly of this record.
And it gives it just a different vibe, right? I mean, it's different if the drummer's at home, does his track, and then sends it off. Like, there's something about that magic being on the floor together, right?
Yeah.
Talk about Vince Gill being on this record too. I mean, just an absolute legend. I mean, it's like a legend meets legend in reality.
Yeah, well, he's always been one of my favorite male singers, top 5. And when I was going to do the duet for Love of My Life, the Queen song, I wanted to sing the duet with a man. And the man couldn't be like a Tom Waits gruff-voiced person. It had to be an angel to me. So there was only one choice.
Right.
And it was Vince. And he generously agreed to do it. Just drove down from Nashville to Muscle Shoals, where we were, one night just by himself in his parka, and came in and sang.
No crew with him, no like bodyguards,
no,
like just
all by himself in the car, And we did the thing, and then he got back in his car and drove back home to Amy.
Wow.
It was just the coolest thing.
How does that conversation go? You come up, hey Vince, you want to do some Queen with me, or?
Well, yeah, I was emailing and texting with him, and I said, I have this idea. Would you be open to it? And he went away and he thought about it, and then he came back and went, yeah, I guess so. He's so sweet. And
I mean, it could have been like, what are you talking about? Why would I want to sing some Queen?
Yeah, talk to my manager.
Right. It must be nice. I mean, you're also Ann Wilson. I mean, you call up somebody to do a song. I don't think you're going to get the talk to my management reaction.
Yeah, well, you'd be surprised at how many times I've reached out to people to sing duets and they're too busy, always too busy. Yeah, like on the song Almost Paradise, on the song Ring Them Bells on the Desire Walks On album for Heart. I called everybody from the people that were big back then, like Plant and the Lou Gramm.
Did you call Mike Reno?
Did you call Rogers? No, Mike Reno was who the record company chose, and it worked out great. But just like people don't always jump at the chance.
Yeah. Bryan Adams, should have called Bryan Adams. That would have been a cool collab.
Yeah.
There you go.
Well, look, this is great. We're running out of time, but this was an absolute pleasure to talk to you, man. We covered all kinds of different subjects. Wasn't expecting to go down, but man, this is super fun. Brand new record coming out, Fierce Bliss, April 29th. You can pre-order now. Get your music. Go and buy the physical copy because she won't be able to sign your Spotify when you see her at a concert.
That is true.
That's right.
Can't sign an MP3.
Yeah. All right, Ann, this is so great to meet you, and we'll see you soon.
Yeah. Okay, thank you for having me.
Merci bien.
Thanks for talking. Okay, bye.
An all-new episode of The Mitch Lafon and Jeremy White Show.
Tuesday at noon.
Available wherever you stream.